Good morning, good morning. How are you guys?
Yeah, good.
Good to hear from you all. Okay, so today we are going to have a look on the basic introduction of Python. First, I'll just give you all an overview of the Python introduction, of the Python tool. What are all the sections that we are supposed to cover when you are learning Python or when you are preparing for Python, specifically for data engineering. Okay, what are all the sections? What are all the operations that one person should know? The different kinds of activity, the different kinds of experiments which are lined up, which will be using, like which you will be using for performing the activity or doing all your experiments or creating all your projects using Python programming language. Okay, so we are going to have a look about all those information first, and then we'll see some basic Python questions. Okay, basic questions. So let me just quickly share my screen. So I'm going to start Python, basic concept, all the topics, where our agenda is to learn about the data engineering, like how Python basic is very much important for data engineering. What are data ingestions and extractions? Why, like how we can perform data transformations and the cleaning. What are data storage and management? The data pipeline using Python programming languages, the big data processing, what are all the tools, techniques that we will be using using Python programming language to perform and solve all our activity, and then how to solve the data quality and the validation task, including security, compliance, and the final steps, deployment and scalability. How in every steps Python is actually involved. Okay, for the overall data engineering concept, whether be it an Azure, AWS, GCP, big data engineer, or any other role into this particular segment. Okay, starting with the data engineering concept, what exactly data engineering is. So, I think this part is little bit clear to all of you that what exactly data engineering is and how exactly it is different from a data analyst or a data scientist. Okay, so data engineering is basically one of the section, or you can say data engineers are those people who completely focus on the preparation and the completion of the all sorry of all the operational tasks of the given project within that given organization. Okay, so the role of data engineering involves all the analytical and operational work that a person needs to check and that a person needs to facilitate while working on any project. Any kind of any data related decisions or predictions which is going to be a benefit towards the project, towards the organization, will be done and strategized by the data engineer people. Once the analytical people are done with the analysis, then a data scientist are going to create the modeling part, and data engineers are going to make them accessible and make the entire process automate. Like they will convert the entire process automate. Like they will basically make them automate and will provide the insights, the decisions, the informations to the clients. Okay, so that they can have a better information, a better set of explanation, what kind of work that they have all created, they have all done. So, what is the overall role of a data engineer in the complete data ecosystem that they are supposed to work with? So, data engineers are completely responsible for building the overall infrastructure for proceeding with the analysis, storing, processing, and reporting part as well. Their work is to collaborate with different data scientists and work very much closely with them as well as the analyst people so that they can understand what are all the information they can gather and they can use it for their uh, project development. Okay, the efficient management of data at every steps is the role of data engineer. Okay, so from receiving the data from the clients, then storing them into a database to go to taking them into a query related services, or extracting information or converting them into a model or converting them into a final report on the dashboards. Every role has to be enhanced efficiently by data engineers. So these things are very important for any data engineer person to collaborate, to communicate, to work together in a team, and then give the final shape to your project. Like how exactly it is going to take the final shape, the final look is something which is completely dependent on the data engineers people. Nowadays these kind of work even data scientists are doing, like they are also working end to end, where they are involved completely on the analysis, like they are involved at every step on an individual basis, because in some projects you might be the individual contributor for the company. Okay, like for an example, the one project that I have mentioned yesterday, also the Google project. I was working on the Google Trend website, if you know, and my work is to extract information and automate the entire process on the basis of a certain brand. Okay, so from extracting the data to learning, like from learning, the basic stuff was from learning about all the algorithms, the different libraries, to extracting the data, to managing them, to storing them into BigQuery, and then to automate them, like automate the entire process and sending the mail alert as well. Every process was done entirely by me, because I was the individual contributor for that specific brand. Similarly, there was other project that was done by my colleagues where they were completely involved from scratch to end. So you should know all these processes, like how to deal with Airflow, how to deal with basic modeling language, how to do the debugging. All these steps are something which is very necessary for any data people that you should know. Data engineering is actually the third level, the advanced level, which a person expects that a person is already familiar with the data analytics, data scientist, and data debugging steps very well. Okay, so you are already expected that you are going to perform very well and you are going to give a proper project at the end. Now, talking about Python, how Python is very much important in the field of data engineering. So, we'll start with the introduction to Python programming. So, Python is one of the very interesting language. So, in data engineering, we focus on three main programming language. One is Scala, one is Java, other one is Python. And Python, being the most popular one, is used in almost all the industries, except if you are working, like if you're going to work or you're planning to work for the finance based company, or like banking, or where they are maintaining your insurance and health based, like health insurance or something of that sort. In those organizations they generally prefer our programming language. Otherwise, in media, in banking sector, in healthcare sector, they generally prefer our programming. But all that also depends, like how exactly they want their project to work on. And if it is our programming, then you have to be comfortable enough to switch all your programming languages. Like it is not very difficult. Okay, some of the programming languages, like some of the syntax are very much similar in Python and in R. The concepts will always remain same. Like you can talk about machine learning or you can talk about operators. These are all same. It's just There are different libraries, there are different packages that you're supposed to learn if you are working with R or you're working with Python. Okay. But in your portfolio, there should be one language which you should know at least from basic to intermediate. Not like you can skip the advanced part, but from basic to intermediate, you should be versatile and you should be comfortable with that. Okay. Because otherwise, it is not going to work at all. So be ready. Whatever language you are choosing, please be very clear that you stick to that language. Don't jump all around like, okay, you got an opportunity from banking, so now I need to learn R also. You can learn later on also once you'll get the job. That is not an issue. You can clearly say, even if you do not get the job, that is okay. But you should be honest that I have not done any coding, any project till date on R programming or Scala or Python. I am comfortable with Java, so just go with Java like this. Okay, because that smoothens your interview process. All right. So let's talk about this Python thing. So history of Python is very interesting and is very small. I believe most of you are must be aware of, specifically the people from the data science sessions. Okay, the naming everyone knows was named after the Python snake, and that was only because the scientist, the researcher who was working on this programming language, was very fond of learning about different animals, and this was named after one show, Monty's Flying Circus, something of that show, that type. I am actually missing out the name. Okay. And till date, there are multiple versions that have been launched with multiple functions, and every time there is a new update with the existing library. There are some libraries, there are some libraries also that keep on getting updated from time to time. So you have to keep on, like, you have to be actually keep on updating yourself. Tech is one such field where you cannot just sit silently, oh, I got the job, now no more work, no more learning. You cannot expect this. Tech is something where you have to keep on learning throughout your career journey. Okay, be ready for that. If you're not someone who is not ready to learn something, it is going to be very difficult to survive in the corporate world. Trust me. Okay, specifically into these area where you are involved into the core field, like development, modeling, all these things. It is definitely going to affect on a larger scale. So you make yourself, like, make your mind ready that you have to be ready to keep on learning multiple programming, multiple syntax, multiple tools, technology throughout your career. Like every time, maybe you'll work throughout your career, you're going to work only on Python programming language, but that thing also has to be very much clear. Every time you have to keep on updating yourself what version you are using. Okay, first thing, everyone, please remember, you should know what version of Python programming you are using. I'll tell you how to check it when we'll start the practical part, but you should know. Currently, we are using, I think, 3.11.12, 3.11.01, like, sorry, 1.2 only or 1.1 only. This is the version that I am using currently. You guys need to check which version you are using, and the libraries, the packages, what version you are using. All these things matters. Okay, because in different versions some of the libraries does not work, so you should know all these things. These are also one of the part of debugging that you may require to handle your codes. Okay, so that was the small idea about Python. Second, Python is one of the most versatile language. That's why this is the most popular one. Why? Because this is used in multiple fields, from developing an application to web data, like to a website, to developing a model, and helping in a lot of analysis. Okay, lot of data analysis, like data manipulations and data analysis. This Python also offers multiple GUI layer as well. GUI, I believe everyone knows the graphical user interface, like very, very interesting interface you get when you're working with Python programming language. Interface as in there are multiple tools for Python programming language. You can use Anaconda. From there you can use Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Labs, Spider, Orange, IBM Watson, then Python console. You can use PyCharm, you can use VS Code, you can use Colab. So there are so many platforms where you can work and get interesting UI of Python programming language. There are so many tools that you get under this programming language. Second, it works very well with like it is very well integrated with different I'll say operating systems. Like it goes very well with Windows, Mac, Unix, Linux, all of this. Okay. The third most important factor is that you can easily integrate Python or other programming language into each other. Like you can use Python code or syntax in R programming. You can use SQL in Python. You can connect with different tools and technology. All these things we are going to see in this sessions only. Okay, what are the different sections that you can actually connect with? Second, it is very much easily readable and easy to understand, and it is one of the very straightforward language. With less line of syntax, you are able to achieve the kind of idea, the kind of report you want to achieve. Talking about the data engineering application, so Python is widely used in different cloud platform for performing activities like data analysis, manipulations, machine learning, deployment, like application building, website building. So many activities are there where this Python is very, very important. Okay. Now, there are multiple libraries which are important when we talk about Python for data engineering, out of which Pandas and NumPys are the most common one that everyone knows. Pandas are the library which is basically used for data manipulation activities. NumPy are the library which is used for performing all the numerical related activities. NumPy stands for numerical Python. Okay, for doing any transformation or dealing with any mathematical functions or multi-dimensional arrays, we use NumPy. Okay, but remember this term, for any kind of log transformation we use NumPy. Then we have SQL Alchemy. So this is one of the powerful tool again present in Python programming language, which helps us in making an interaction with the like a query language, where we can easily integrate into Python programming language and can solve all our questions related with relational data. Okay. Now, about the setup of Python, I have given you one document, installation document already in your Teams, which is all about installing the Anaconda. Apart from that, you can also use Google Colab, that is linked with your Google account. Okay, and then you can use VS Code if anyone is already using it. You are most welcome to do like to use that platform. We have PyCharm Community Edition, which is completely free. Jupyter Notebook is there. Jupyter Lab is there. Then there are other lab as well that you may get. If you'll talk about some cloud platforms like Azure, AWS, or GCP, you get the workstation. If you're working with GCP, you like in Azure also you get Jupyter Notebook. In AWS also you get Jupyter Notebook to work and complete your project using Python programming language. Okay, and to work with different dependencies, like for different level of project, there is this pip function which is already available to install any kind of packages. And the best part is you can even check what are the different types of packages by what version is installed in your system already, like in your environment already. Okay, So please be very much clear that Python is a programming languages, and the environment that I told you, the IDE I told you, are just the tool, the environment, the open tool that helps you to work with Python programming language, that helps you to write Python programming on those environment. Okay, the like Jupyter, Colab, all the other tools are not Python programming language. So don't get confused. Okay, don't answer this thing. Whenever I have observed this thing being one of the interviewer, I have seen this part as well. Like whenever you ask what are the languages you are comfortable with, we have received the answer as Jupyter Notebook, Colab, VS Code. These are not Python programming language. Okay, so please be clear. Like for our programming, we have our studio. Our studio is not programming language. All right. So please be clear with all these things. Talking about data ingestions and extraction, like how exactly these things are going to work with Python programming language. So Python programming is one such language that can read the data from n number of sources, okay, and into multiple formats. So there are so many formats, there are so many idea, there are so many level that you can actually and easily use it for extracting the data and read those formats in Python programming language. For an example, CSV is the most popular one, and after that Excel file, which is .xlsx. Apart from that, we have text file, we have PDF, we have doc, we have JSON, HTML. So many file formats are there. We'll be doing some of the activities on the basis of JSON, CSV, Excel file to understand how exactly the reading and the writing concept work with Python. But you should know these things. For handling different formats, we do have different data frame, like for CSV, Excel, JSON, HTML. We can simply use pandas. For text file and everything, we are having different libraries and different packages that can be easily installed. Okay, you just need to have one internet connection. Second, you can also store or extract a data set from SQL databases. You just have to make a connection. When we use Jupyter Notebook, we basically create by using connector. Okay, we write a code by using a connector. We install the connector in the MySQL database. Like MySQL is one of the open and free resources, so you can use that as one thing. Second, when you're working with cloud platforms, so you and you're working with some databases, so you get some databases ID, password, and all the other informations like keys and everything when you're creating a database and you're storing a data. So you can easily connect that as well. Like you can easily connect by using that information through Python programming language. Okay, so you can connect with SQL database. Similarly, you can connect with NoSQL databases as well. NoSQL databases, I believe you do have an idea, but let me tell you, it is not only structured query language. So the query language, the data that is not present in the tabular format, which is present in the multiple other formats, are stored in NoSQL, such as the data type of images, videos, docs, audios. All these things are NoSQL. Okay. APIs for data access. You can use multiple API as well in Python programming language to access the data. For example, you can use Google Gemini API, which is open for all, and you can easily get the access by using your own Gemini API's account. Okay, you just need to generate once, you'll get the API key, and you can use it whenever you want in whatever project you want, very easily and smoothly. Okay. Moving ahead, there are multiple web scraping activity also that you should be knowing as a data engineer. All these things are expected on a low level when you are going to apply for data analyst or a business analyst or even a data scientist. Like web scraping is something which is a work of a data analyst, but what if you're working on a project where you are supposed to contribute individually and extract the information? So there are multiple tools for scrapping the general information, but to scrap a specific information from different tools and technology, there are some specific libraries that you are supposed to follow. Like we have beautiful soup, which you can use for extracting the information of like HTML or XML documents. Okay, we have Scrappy framework. Similarly, we have so many other tools. For example, extracting the data set from Google Trends, you are supposed to use PyTrends. Okay, so for different sections, we have different library, different algorithm. You can definitely always search all those information. It is easily available. And the most important thing I would suggest you all, if you are preparing for any kind of role into the data science, into the data field where you require to have the basic understanding of Python, please follow only the official website of Python, which is python.org. Okay, no other website. The content, the material which is there, the topics that is there are enough for you to understand. Like if you want to have a proper structure, you can follow that python.org. And if you want to solve like a lot of questions based on that, you can follow lead code, you can follow hackerrank, you can follow imoca. I will give the website link of all these platforms in your teams group. Okay, in your teams group, so that you all can follow that. So yeah, web scraping is one such activity that as a data engineer you should know. Pandas and NumPy, I have told you, like performing any data wrangling activity, you can use Pandas and NumPy. What is data wrangling? Basically, and it is an EDA task. Okay, so data wrangling is one of the term that you will come across if you're working with R programming as well. Before there we use, I forgot the library, tidyr, okay, or dplyr. These are the libraries that we use, ggplot, all these things, packages we use in our programming for performing this data wrangling. Data wrangling is all about importing, like loading the data set, to the cleaning part, to understanding the data patterns and distributions using all the basic libraries. Here I am telling you about pandas and numpy. There are more information, like if you need more information, you'll use more advanced level of libraries. Okay, now in the data cleaning process, this is one of the most important process, because even if you are getting a data set on a daily basis, you're supposed to perform this activity. Supposed to form as in, let's say, okay, I am working with one of the brand where we get a data set on a daily basis around 3:30 p.m. Okay, they store that, how we get the data set. They basically store the data set in the storage, in the cloud storage. Okay, from they, like, not the exact cloud storage, they have a different database server. From that database, we run the code using I am working using R programming for that project. So we run the code, we extract the information from that data, where we are supposed to automate the process to handle the missing value, to handle the duplicate values in terms of rows, and duplicate columns as well. Then whatever information they have given, everything has to be handled properly. The data type, and if every column has been defined with a specific data type and every other information, and accordingly it is going to pick up all the information from there, and then it is going to store in our storage system. And once that is done, then we can use that that storage system we have connected with our Looker. Okay, Looker Studio, because ultimately at the end you have to give all your reports in the form of visualization, in the form of dashboards only. So we have connected that part to our Looker, and then we keep on updating all the charts that is there on a daily basis. And once that is done, we do the cross checking that everything is clearly up to date. We check if there are any kind of anomaly that we have detected on the dashboards, and we take the report, we create a presentation, and we share it with the client. So this is a everyday task that is being done. Okay, so that is all involved and come under the data cleaning technique. Cool. So moving ahead, we have taken this part. If anyone else wants to add something, you can always add. Okay. Then moving ahead with the functions like regex and string operation. So string is one of the data type I believe everyone knows, and handling the string data, handling the character data is again one of the most important and difficult task as well, for which we have the sections like NLP and the functions like regex, which is basically a regular expression which help us to signify, or you can see reduce the unnecessary content that is present in the textual data, and also help us in managing those text data with less number of words, with less number of letters, so that we can do our analysis in a much better way with least amount of data which is only necessary. Okay, so because what happened whenever we write a text like this, here a sentence is written like regular expressions are a powerful tool for pattern machine, for pattern matching and searching within the text, comma, facilitating effective data cleaning, full stop. So we are talking about regular expression. Regular expressions are needed. The word are powerful, can be eliminated. For eliminated pattern matching, we can keep it and eliminate it. Searching or within, eliminate. Text, we can keep it. Data and comma, we can eliminate. The extra spaces can be eliminated. So that is how the full stop will be eliminated. So that is how we get to work with the textual data in our data programming, like in our NLP concept and with regex and string operations. So this is also one of the steps to clean the data, like any textual data which is present in the tabular format. It's not necessary you're working with the document only, the PDF or the text document, but if you're working with textual data like a string data which is present in the tabular format, in the table format, in that way also we like in that condition also we can use this regex function. Okay, so that was all about the basics of Python, where you're supposed to cover so many applications into different fields. But again, all these things cannot be learned or understood in one day. This is just a gist, a theoretical gist that you are actually going through, you are actually having a look, you're trying to understand. Apart from this, there are so many things that you're supposed to understand for sure. Okay, now, talking about sorry, data storage and management, how this is helpful in terms of Python programming language. So, I've talked about SQL database, NoSQL database. There are so many databases that is available, and it depends from organization. Like it completely depends on organization what databases they want to use and how they want to use. Okay, now how exactly Python actually help us in managing these databases? So Python help us in managing the data set very effectively onto these database platforms. Okay, it help us in simplifying all our objective. It help us in writing code in syntaxes that help us in storing the information which are necessary and deleting or omitting the information which is just creating and like which is just taking an extra space. Okay, it also, like Python programming language has also made the interaction with these databases like very easy. Okay, like we can use this library like as SQL Alchemy for the interaction purpose, but there are other methodologies, other syntax as well, which are available, which you will automatically learn when you'll start working on the different platforms. And the best part is you can use Python programming tools, but you can write the syntax just like you write your SQL query very easily to interact and to get the information from those platforms. Okay. Any question? Okay, cool. Now, working with cloud storage solutions, so different cloud platforms provide you different cloud storage solutions. Like in Google Cloud, we get Google Cloud Storage, then we get BigQuery. Then in AWS also we have a relational database. In Azure we have SQL database to store all these information. Similarly, we have different other platforms like Snowflake, Docker. Then we have PL SQL, which we use on a larger scale. We have Oracle. Okay, so there are different databases that is present on the cloud platforms that can easily be managed and can be used for managing and protecting our data against any loss that can happen due to any of the reason, any random reason. Okay, and Python is one such programming language which help us in managing all these cloud platforms very effectively and also help us to automate all these process on a day-to-day period. Sorry. Talking about data pipelines in terms of Python programming language again, performing the ETL task, one of the most basic activity and the practical when you're working with data engineering learning platform. Any platform, whether be it a cloud platform or an offline platform, uh, ETL is one of the basic steps which is used for creating a pipeline in detail, where Python, of course, plays a very vital role. How? By using the concept of OOP and functions, which is the base of all these programming language. Remember, you are going to use functions and OOP on a regular basis throughout your career for solving the questions related to data structure or for creating a data pipeline these based on any structure. Okay, talk about any cafe structure where you want to analyze all the data on a regular basis and want to predict the future prices, or you want to create a program where you're extracting the information from Twitter and you want to keep on updating that information on a regular basis to your dashboard to understand which tweet is the most popular one today, what are the keywords, what are all the information. So there can be n number of practical that can be done using Python programming languages, with a very easy process. And in this overall step, OOP and function is or are the main character. Okay, you can say lead actors. Okay, so what is ETL? ETL stands for extract, transform, load. Basic step that we already do it. What is extract? In a very simple language, I'll tell you. Everyone has done at least one basic project by downloading the data from somewhere. So let's say you have downloaded one data set from Kaggle platform. So what you actually extracted the data from Kaggle. Okay, you searched for it, you extracted the data from Kaggle. Now what you did after that, you'll open the data set into the given format. Let's say the data set is in Excel or a CSV format. You will try to do the analysis of that data in the Excel itself. This should be your first priority list. Okay, when you're working on an offline level, make sure you always read the data set in the Excel file format first, like whatever format, CSV or Excel, in the Excel file level first, and then go and solve that project on Jupyter Notebook or Colab or whatever platform you are using it. Only when I am providing you the data beforehand, okay, or you are downloading any data set to perform any activity, so you should always know this task. All right. So you can do the data extraction. So where you will be extracting the data, you'll be understanding the quality of the data. After that, if you need to do any kind of transformation, means you need to change the format, you do the cleaning, you do the structural analysis, like the basic EDA part. Once you are done with the transformation also, then you save your data and load the transformed data for all the other activity. Load in the sense you want to proceed one, let's say you did all your activity on the basis of Python, the cleaning, the extraction and everything. Then I'll tell you, you can create a method where you can connect your Kaggle to your Python programming language, and you, without downloading any data set, you can just extract the data from Kaggle platform directly into your Jupyter notebook. So this is one of the automated process that you can create every time. So it is always going to extract the data, make the necessary transformation, and it is going to load the data for further analysis. This is the overall ETA process. And to perform all these activity, you definitely need OOP and functions programming concept. Obviously, you need to understand, you need to perform, you need to create it. We'll be creating basic pipeline, of course, using OOP so that you can understand how exactly it works. Monitoring and maintaining data pipelines can again be done very easily by using Python programming language, by creating a log mechanism, which is one of the super important steps. Okay, you should always create a log file, a track file, which will keep the log of your entire process, how exactly it is working. Although whenever you do the automation on by using the Airflow, it automatically creates a log file. But you should always create the log file separately in your code when you're working on end-to-end project, because that gives an edge to your project, and that is something which you can always create to impress your managers. Okay, one of the important steps. Now, talking about big data processing, another step in the field of Python programming language. I know there are a lot of things with Python that can be done, and I am continuously talking. Uh, but yes, at least you should have a picture of what are all the field where you can actually explore your career into. Okay. So talking about big data framework, there are multiple frameworks like you must have heard of Hadoop, Map, Reduce, Yarn. How exactly all these things work? Anyone, any idea? No idea. Okay, what is big data? At least that you can answer.
Large data, like more data.
And let's say I have a data set with 10,000 rows. Can it be considered as a large data?
Yeah. 10,000, yeah.
No, actually. That is an intermediate level of data.
Okay.
Your big data is something where volume is super high. Okay. Like, for an example, the information. Sorry. Okay. For an example, where you are storing the data set on a regular basis. Okay. The Gmail account. I am not sure how many of you have an idea. Like almost in every second, almost no, not almost, more than 100 people register on a daily basis to create a new account. Okay. The other information I can give you: whenever a flight take off, despite any location, okay, whenever a flight take off, within that 30 minute of the flight, okay, within that 30 minute after the flight has took off, uh, millions of datas are generated on the basis of the speed, the information, the amount of time, energy they have invested, how many employees were involved, how many passengers are there, what quantity of food, what type of food, what is their weight, everything. So there are millions of data that keeps on generating. And let's say altogether in the entire day, at least 20 flight took off. So every time a million data is getting generated. Okay. And I'm not talking about the flights that are actually landing. I'm talking about the flights that are actually uh, going from this location. Okay. So this is a big data. Now, to handle such big data, there are multiple frameworks. The one popular framework is Hadoop, and the second one is no, not Hadoop. The one popular framework is PySpark. And to manage PySpark, we have Hadoop that manage the storage system. PySpark is one of the Python API for Apache Spark. Okay, that help us in processing the data and the different tasks very efficiently. It can handle a million of data on a daily basis very effectively and very efficiently, and can give us the report also with a very interesting code. That is, you can simply use Python programming language code, or you can integrate SQL in it and can complete your code to extract information. And for this, you do not need any extra tool. You can simply work on your Jupyter notebook by installing, by doing some, uh, by doing some basic protocol before proceeding PySpark in your local system, or you can even use it in the Google Colab. Okay, very easily. These PySpark. Apart from that, PySpark is completely Python-based programming language, which can be used on different cloud platforms as well, like such as Databricks, Azure Databricks, and different platforms like AWS Databricks as well. Okay. Now, talking about data quality and validation, so how this can be done. So ensuring any quality of the data and checking their data format, their reliability on the analysis, their how exactly that data is applicable, or how their quality is actually up to date for performing our activity, for performing our analysis, can again be done by Python. Okay, and is one of the crucial steps for any data engineers to perform. There are multiple methodologies for checking these validations and for doing the quality check. And for this, there are multiple protocol that is being followed by into different organization, into different section, and also depends on the kind of project you are working with. Okay, these validation is actually very important. This is one of the step of QA QC, which everyone should know. Okay, what are the expectation, how much you are able to achieve, if it is proper or not, the data set that you have worked, the report that you have prepared is actually correct or not. All these things, there are certain protocol that will be taught to you by your organization, how you should be following it. Not, it is not a very difficult task or rocket science level thing. It is a very basic thing, and so obviously the company can guide you very easily that you're working on this and this project. Let's say you're working on reporting analysis. Okay, and for an example, one of my team who's working under me, and they're working for Siemens. Okay, I believe you might have heard the company's name, Siemens. Okay, that deals into the healthcare. So they basically share their data uh, at least, no, on a daily basis around 10 a.m. Okay, so it is fixed around 10 a.m. They share their data on a daily basis, and every day we are supposed to extract that data and present the report on Tableau. Okay, this is the work of once the data is received, one person is going to do the validation that a data has been received successfully and it is a correct data. We are going to proceed further. Then the second person works on the Tableau dashboard creation part. Once that is done, the third person do the QC, and then fourth person create the presentation on the basis of the final reporting thing, like after doing the checking of all the reports that has been created, and then it is presented all together with all the teams. Okay, we update that, and my work is to check if everything is has been done correctly by them, and the report is up to date by the end of the day, like whatever time has been allotted to them, and then present the report along with them to the client and take their feedback and do the further planning, what changes I can do with them. So these are the activity that we follow, okay, to a certain extent. That is what data security part is. Not talking about deployment and scalability. So deployment, again, it is not necessary that every time you're going to deploy your project and you're going to create them into some application. It depends, like if you really need to deploy your project or not. For an example, let's say I want to create a system where oh, okay. Not for an example, I'll give you a real example. So we worked last year. We worked on one of the project that was related with one of the investment plan on one of the very big brand. Okay, I cannot release the name here. Sorry. So that was one of the very biggest brand, and they invested approximately uh, no 10 million every year on their advertising. Okay, this was their estimate, or approximately. Like in 1 year, they even invested up to 50 million, and only in the advertising part. And our work is to generate a solution to give them a final application after deploying, where they can actually track on their level whenever they want, on the basis of certain key factors, certain KPIs, their key factors, their certain apart from KPI, there were certain features that was very important, and there was statistical analysis, like there was statistical value that were involved, the confidence interval was involved. So, on the basis of all these things, we were evaluating their performances and we were then giving them the result. Like, okay, they have invested this much. Let's say they have invested 10 million in a year. Now, on the basis of 10 million, this is their expectation. So, like, their advertisement should have reached through YouTube up to this many people, and this many, like, this percentage of audience. Through TV advertisement, they must have reached, like according to their data, they have reached this percentage of audience. Through newspaper and radio, they have reached this number of audience. Through different social media platforms, they have reached this percentage of audience. Now, on the basis of that thing, we were supposed to prepare a model once, and then we have deployed that model. Every time we were just feeding their data, like these are the data that they have given, and on the basis of that, we were giving them the expected result, like what they have got, the actual result and expected result, and then it was being compared, and then we were trying to find out the loophole. If there is a large differences, what can be the reason? If it might be the data or the information given by them is not correct, or there is a problem in our process. So these things we keep on checking. So that is a kind of deployment that requires only in few specific project. You do not have to do it. Now, scaling it up, again, it depends. If you your storage, the number of volume of the data, if you are increasing, then of course you need to scale up your data set for performing a better data analysis, like parallel processing. Okay. For an example, okay, for an example, there are 7 tools. Okay, there are 7 different subjects. Let's say 7 different subjects like DevOps is going on, digital marketing is going on, data science is going on, data analysis, business analysis, cyber security. If I am the only person who has to deal with all the subject, will it be possible? Like, will I be able to give the 100% efficiency in the training process?
No.
No. Okay. Yes. So because of the same reason, we have respective mentors. Okay, respective mentors. Although I was not at all ready for the data engineering part as well, because of this, I am fully engaged now. Okay, so I already have data science batch, like 2 batches are already running, and then with that I have this data engineering batches too, for which 2 batches are already running again for this. So it creates a very hectic process for me now as comparison to other mentors. Okay, they do get time, but I hardly get time because of these things. So yeah, so to make everything efficiently, I have to work extra. This is one of the thing. Otherwise, no course, no material, nothing I can provide on time to any of my courses, to any of my batches. Okay. Similarly, this scaling up process is very necessary when we are working with different modeling tasks. If we feel like our volume is increasing and this is not the suitable database or this is not the suitable platform to handle our data to do the analysis, we will definitely switch. Like for one of the project, we were working on GCP, but due to certain reason and there was certain restrictions from GCP, because it was not allowing us to create more databases. So we actually had to shift all our work for just one project. We shifted everything on Azure. Okay, it was a very lengthy process because it was our 4 years of work that we shifted completely on Azure. So yeah, so that is how the scaling and everything, it has to be done very properly and very efficiently. Time to time, you should keep on discarding the information which is unnecessary. You should always keep the copy of your important information and the data at multiple places. How that is a process of big data, not you are going to do manually. But this is all the different processes that we design, that we play around, and that we work. Okay. So that is all about the different Python programming techniques, field, and best practices that one should follow under the data engineering section, and how exactly you should design your learning process. What are the segment that you should definitely have a look at least once before making yourself perfect with Python. And you can also make yourself an expertise in Python, like with all the other analysis level. And you can consider yourself a data engineer with Python level expertise. Okay, so that is also something where you could, like, where you are actually required and you are hired by the company because you are one of the expertise who can solve any kind of issues related with Python. Then for now, that's all from my side. If you have something, you can definitely ask me. Otherwise, you can take a leave. Bye bye. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Take care.
It took some effort